Hi there, Glocal citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I am your host, Florence Adu. I'm coming to you from London town. Yes, every now and then I come through this town and I see people who are very near and dear to my heart. And I am sitting with one today. And I'm really honored and excited to bring you the series of conversations that I have coming up for you over the next few weeks. I spent the first couple of weeks of June in Europe, and I had the opportunity to sit down with a very, very old family friend and someone that I think is so interesting and will add so much value to this conversation about global citizenship in a multi-generational type of way. So let me get right to his introduction. He is a studio portraitist, photojournalist, and Black lifestyle photographer who in recent years has had showings in Ghana, South Africa, France, the Netherlands, the UK, and the US. His career spans 6 decades, and although for much of that period his work was not widely known, it has latterly been discovered by new audiences. His work was rediscovered in 2007 during the Ghana F50 Jubilee season by curator Nana Afuriata Ayem, who organized the first exhibition of his photographs at Black Cultural Archives. In his street and studio photography, he represents societies in transition in the 1950s and 60s, particularly Ghana moving towards independence and London becoming a multicultural metropolis. He was Ghana's first full-time newspaper photographer in the 1950s, and he is credited with introducing color processing to Ghana in the 1970s. It has been said that he is to Ghana and photojournalism what Ousmane Sembène was to Senegal and African cinema. Mr. James Barnor, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Okay, so let's get right to it. Where are you from? Where are you local? And what is your craft?
Originally, I'm a Ghanaian. I come from Accra, Ghana. I lived in London for more than 20 years. London City, not London Town. You in America, you call London Town because you are. But here, London is a city.
It is. That's
city
true.
Of London, city of London. But Brentford is a borough within the city of London.
Okay.
And this is Brentford, near Heathrow Airport. I was a photojournalist, but now retired.
So when you say Accra, Ghana, Accra is a big city. So tell us a little bit more about your Accra.
That's where I was born, in Jamestown, very close to the sea. I was born in 1929, and I remember some vantage times in my childhood when we celebrated the coronation or the jubilee of the King of England, called King George. That was 1935, when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is something that I remember very well. When that was the year I went to school.
Okay.
For the first time. And luckily, the celebration of the coronation in England echoed all around the Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth. And all school children were given chocolate souvenirs, chocolate and mugs or cups with the king and the queen's picture on it. And, it was like, having the king or the queen in your house. And my father got the cups from the children and gave them the chocolates to go and eat, but collected all the cups and displayed them in his room. 2 years after, 1937, he died, and his son was also crowned. So there was the coronation of another king, and we had similar situation or celebration, and we have cups of a different design, but the king too had, and his wife had their picture on it. Those two were collected from my father.
Okay.
And these two things I remember very well
From your childhood.
from my childhood.
So, as a child, you witnessed the coronation of kings.
Yes.
And you were operating in what was still a colony.
Yes, that's true.
And so, as you became an adult,
Even before then, 2 years after, there was a historical earthquake in Accra, which shook, and destroyed a lot of houses. And it was a turning point. It gave us another experience altogether because people lost their houses and they had to dwell in temporary, palm branch houses, which were built in all, any available open space for people to go and live.
wow.
Yes.
So the earthquake, so we know that the fault line is towards Weija. There's a
All
fault
around
there.
Accra, from, all around the coastal line.
So it
yes.
was the coast.
And it was terrible in Accra.
Wow.
Especially houses which were not built
Properly.
with, they all, so
Collapsed.
many people lost their houses.
Wow.
And so we had people dwelling in these temporary, but with their families, yes. And life, and that was what brought about estate houses. Available houses available lands were, taken over and built on for people to go and live.
So what were some of the first estates? Do you remember?
Mamprobi. Yes.
okay.
Kanishi. Yes.
So that was how they rebuilt
Yes.
the city.
And one at Usu.
Okay.
Usu.
Yeah.
And I think we were young. I was young, so I didn't know the terms by which the people
Yep.
they went there, but they were given, and I think they paid. It wasn't free.
Right.
Mm.
Right. But it was the
Yes.
first attempt at organizing homes
Yes.
for people.
It was very, and the same year, by getting to the end, the Second World War started. The same 1939. The earthquake, I was, 10? In June, on June 6th. And June 22nd, the earthquake happened.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right.
And then later in the year, the German war or America came into the war and things
And it
started.
was right. And Ghanaians were fought on the side of the British in that war.
Automatically, because everything that happened here, or how Britain fared, affected the whole colony,
Right.
especially Ghana.
Right.
Because all our things, or most of the things we used here, were ordered from abroad.
Machines.
Everything.
Textiles.
We were, governed by them, by the British, and so very, very well connected and dependent on them. And so when they were at war, we had to help. I remember at school we had to do a lot of things to help the war. Yes, like cracking palm nuts. It was made into oil, and we collected a lot of things. And the farmers grew. They started planting rubber for the tires, for lorry tires, tank tires. And yes, we did a lot of effort to help. And in fact, everything that was practiced here for safety, we learned it
Also,
there. Yes.
Yeah.
Like dipping headlights of lorries, so that you're not seeing much from the air.
Ah.
You see,
Okay.
either no light at all,
Right. Or dimming them, going to a lower.
A lot of things, during the war, and for 6 years, from
39
that time
to
to 1945,
Yeah.
I was at school. We witnessed all these things. Even later part, before the war ended, there was a campaign to our school or to schools to get those who were of age to join the army. Yes, from school to join the army. Yes.
Wow. So you missed that one because you would have
been.
I
was. In fact, I finished at 16. So by the time I was in,
the war was over.
It was interesting. One important thing was a cargo boat bringing things to Ghana was torpedoed just when it arrived in Accra port.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, it was followed. Yes, it was so.
So this war came to the coast of Africa.
Yes. All ships carrying cargo had to be guarded by ships.
Yep.
All cargo boats from Britain to Italy had to be guarded.
Right.
By
the Navy.
Yes. And I don't know how it was followed from Lagos or from,
wherever it came.
Yes, and torpedoed there. And that it was called Sankara.
Sankara.
Yes.
Okay.
And people have forgotten now.
Yes.
Because I remember 1942 when I was in Bishop School. We could see, it didn't go down at once. Yes.
It tipped and then went in.
So we could see it from school. We can see it. And one thing, the risk that the fishermen did was to go at night to dive and go and collect some of the goods. Yes.
Wow.
And some of them were caught. So it was something to like selling illicit gin. When we were not independent, the gin that we made in Ghana was illegal.
Yeah, that gin is our appetition.
Yes. They caught anybody selling today is not, and the same, they chased people who were trading in these things and sometimes trace them to the fishermen. And they can tell which goods because they knew what, and sometimes there were marks on them.
So can trace it.
So that too was an experience. And these are little things that we tend to forget.
Exactly.
As I go to school and pursue my profession and where I lived and so on, you tend to forget these little things. But now they are coming back.
Right.
And interestingly, because many people don't know, because I remember seeing a picture of soldiers building some of those temporary
after the earthquake
building in Manchagbona, the Jamestown open place that they were building. It wasn't my picture because I wasn't anywhere near photography at that time, but I saw the picture maybe taken by government or the information services. Yes.
Speaking of, so your craft.
Somehow I happened to go into photography.
Exactly. So tell us, how did that happen? So you finished your secondary school.
Nothing like secondary school at all.
Oh, no.
Elementary school.
Okay.
Just because I remember my last year at school and there was the victory over Europe, the first, end of the war. We paraded, jubilate, and have the band, school children, we went round. So that was it. And then the Japanese continued.
Yes.
So later, after Hiroshima, there was the victory over Japan.
Right.
All that time, after this, I went to teach. And so I took part in the other parade too with my school, where I was teaching.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So when I come to think of it, but when I was in school, I happened to be the editor of our school magazine. Secondary schools didn't even have magazines, but our teacher got the idea of a school magazine and made me the editor. So this was something that was collected during the week, news or whatever, and it was written by hand on a double foolscap and pasted on the school notice board.
Oh, Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Everybody read it,
Yes.
teachers and even visitors.
Okay.
So you can imagine who will write this or who will respond to it. So even then, a question of newspaper or journalism could be there. Storytelling
Yes.
could be there.
Yes.
But at the end of the year, normally we have an English lesson to say, what would you like to be when you leave school? And I chose farming.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
It surprised everybody.
Really? So what did they think? What did they think you were going to go and do?
Teaching.
Teaching.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because they thought, because when we took our last examination in October, and you have that 2 days in October or so, and the whole of November and December before you leave school.
Yeah.
You can go to school. But right from there, I volunteered and went to teach at our infant school.
Okay. Oh, okay,
You know.
okay. So they already knew you had it in you.
Yes.
Okay. So then how long did you teach?
About 2 years, within which I always say, the craft teacher, not the schoolmaster, but the craft teacher gave me a camera, something like that, small, called Kodak Brownie. Kodak Baby Brownie, yes. No, I don't know why he gave it to me, but that was what I started with. And then slowly I went on to another bigger camera, or 120 camera, 620 camera, Kodak Brownie itself, Eve, and so on. And somehow, it's a long story, but I decided, no, let me go and study photography instead of teaching.
And so where did you study?
With a local photographer who was also my cousin. There's nobody who has so many photographers in his family like me.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Either has been or still practicing
Photography.
or something like that.
Okay. So that's so you kind of went into the family trade.
Something like that.
Okay.
Something like that. Straight from school, from teaching, from the school. Well, I remember while I was at school, teaching, I was borrowed to go and teach in a blind school, the new school for the blind. It wasn't very big. They were about 10 or 12 blind, and the Presbyterian mission, they were experimenting and getting them together with a view to making it, yes. And I went to teach them how to weave baskets.
Oh, okay.
Which was also my specialty.
Oh, yes. Basket weaving.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, but how did you learn that? Where did you learn basket weaving?
That's why I say the story is long.
Okay.
We got somebody starting to teach us that, and he came to the school. He's the same person teaching at the girls' school as well as the infant school.
Okay.
And I think by chance, he got accommodation in our house.
Okay.
He got accommodation in our house. But he had some connection there. I didn't know, but so when he went back, he got it. And I got the chance of being with him very close. So I learned more from him, both at home and at school. Even we developed a business weaving at home and sending them to the market to sell. So we were very close, and I remember we ate together, or I depended on him during a school break. When break, I'll go to him, he'll give you money to buy food, and then we ate together, and then I'll go back to my school and so on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We had that. I don't know whether he knew or he heard that I was interested in photography then or somehow. That's why when I was teaching, he gave me the camera because we were very close.
Okay.
In fact, at one time, he was the one who recommended me being borrowed by the school for the blind.
Go to,
because his time was being tapped over, too much. When he couldn't leave the schools in a class, so he let me go. When I finished, the girls' school wanted me to come and teach.
Oh, and stay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But
you had another calling.
No, then I went to this, what should I say, the photography.
Studio.
I mean, after I had done my photography,
Oh.
and they wanted me to come, and I rather let them get somebody, and I worked with that person for a few days or so, showing how to do it, and left. They even promised to add to my salary, because the salary was, I don't know whether you remember this, £2, £1.08, £2, 1 shilling and 8 pence.
Wow.
A month times 12.
Wow.
The year you get £25. Work it and see whether I'm right. But £25 a year, £2, 106, 108 pence a month as a pupil teacher, which means uncertificated teacher.
Okay.
A teacher who has not been trained as such, yes. And, look at that and look at me doing photography. You see, that's why I left. But they offered to add it to, I think, three pounds something. Add a little bit, yes.
More.
No, not quite 50%, but yeah. That didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't enough incentive.
And I thought I was too much into photography.
Sure. Sure.
But even then, that was 1949-50. 1949-50, when I was just 20 years, 21.
Yeah.
But however, I did my apprenticeship for 2 years. I could have gone on more, but somehow I thought I'll go to police.
Police?
Yes, police.
Okay.
As a police photographer.
Okay.
I don't know. I saw somebody who was a police photographer. And his antics when he's on the street taking an accident, record of an accident, so it's good.
You like the action.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I applied and went through everything.
Yeah.
I was even examined. And the police, the dark room, the police, they all wanted me to come. They were expecting me.
Okay.
But they had to wait and get a number of recruits from various branches and train them together.
I see.
In policing.
Yes.
Not because you're a photographer or you're a tailor or you're a clerk or this. But they put them all together and give the police training. So while I was waiting, my uncle, mother's senior brother, who was also a photographer and had retired, he gave me all his equipment.
So he was ready to...
so why wait till I...
to train.
So I started...
Then,
and even that was, that was... And I started in my aunt's room, developing, printing and taking pictures outside in the street, outside in the street.
Yeah.
But he gave me all his big camera. Even I used his chair. When I get seated, I'll go and get his chair and his backdrop and everything.
Okay.
I've got evidence of anything that I say.
Sure.
Anything that I say.
Sure.
I remember, and I've got pictures showing what I talk about.
Okay. Okay. So you inherited basically a business.
Uncles, yes.
And then, so you didn't end up going to the police.
No.
You ended up starting your own business.
It didn't please the ASP, who was white. He was white. He witnessed my being examined.
Oh, okay.
But the sergeant, he became my friend. The sergeant became my friend.
Okay. Okay. We pick up friends all along the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate, but that was my fate.
Yes.
I started straight away.
Right.
And luckily, he gave me some leads. Where he used to travel to Akimabuakwa to take photographs. He gave me some things. So even though I was in Accra and taking photographs, I got that connection. And
I'm sure that photography always inspires travel, right? So in your work, so you've inherited your equipment and now you're an entrepreneur. So how was building the business? This is the 1950s. we're in a space where I feel like Ghana was starting to grumble about independence. The energy was starting to transition. So how did you then establish yourself as a photographer and then move into capturing a generation of important events and people?
Well, I moved from my house, family house, and got a small place. And while I was there, 1950 exactly, the Mirror Group in UK decided to open a newspaper in Ghana.
Okay.
They had the Times in Lagos already, and they wanted to start one in Ghana, or Glocal at that time, 1950.
Mm-hmm.
Or shall I say? Then there were a few presses in Glocal at the time, but they were all letterpress, sort of printing by letterpress, and didn't need pictures every day.
Sure.
But the Mirror wanted to bring a rotary press. So they got somewhere, and in fact, they wanted somebody. The chairman or the president himself came with a photographer to go around and look for one. They went to the one who trained me, and he directed to me. He said, I don't do this type of photography, but I know somebody who does. And they came to me. They looked at my work. Said, not quite, but we'll train you. Tomorrow, come to the graphic. Why this journalistic? Say, I was an editor of our school magazine. So storytelling, chasing news, knowing what is news, and so on, was, in me in a small way. And while I was studying with my cousin as an apprentice, I met another person who was already working for the information services department in the dark room. He didn't go out to take pictures, but he had taught himself, and he was more like a photographer, journalist, or news than anything I can think of. And I met him, and I started understudying him as well, or associating with him. And he introduced me into books.
Photography books.
Yes, as well as other photographers' work, and so on. Where I studied in the studio, it was only what we did there. But this one, open your eyes into other things, and news, people, and so on. So that helped me, to accept and fit into the daily graphic, and when these people came, it was the daily graphic, Daily Times in Nigeria, and graphic, and so I was employed straight away. And we worked for about 2 months or so, preparing and getting together and knowing what we were going to do, because it was the first time. First time, even a lot of journalists, sub-editors, and these were working together. We worked, and the paper, I remember the paper came out on the 2nd of October, 1950. I don't know if the people working on graphic know when the first paper came out.
I'm sure they don't.
Because this is, when you go through it, you forget.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So October. And luckily, I've got an ID or something like that.
Okay.
When the Labor Department started recording to get statistics of who is working where, how many tailors we have, how many, drivers we have. They recorded and made, and they came to the graphic. When I was busy, they say, we want to take your picture. And so I had that card with all my details.
Okay.
You see, and the date. So when I say, some months or a couple of months before October 1st, I had something there to.
So you were there before, you were the.
It's in my archives now.
Okay.
Who my chief was, my mother's name, my father's name, and what I was doing, and it was reporter photographer. Okay. That was my title then. Yes. So it was the experience with the daily graphic, setting it up and working with them, that made me a different person from the studio
photographer.
Yes. So I had two completely different
identities,
approaches to photography.
Sure.
You know.
And you know, it's actually visible in your work. And I feel you kind of played with both as you went through your career.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one has to teach me to live. One has to eat. One has to be self-conscious. So having a studio is important, you see, and being with the leading, studying from the leading photographer, you know, in Accra, portrait photographer. At least I know how to go about it. But the graphic side caught me more.
The action.
As a young person, you know, like to run around chasing news, you know, doing things, than sitting for people to come and be photographed with a big camera, you know, big camera with a black cloth and so on, and a large. Yeah, the difference is that one is a large negative, plate negative, and then the roll film. And today, look at today, you don't even put a film in.
It just goes straight.
So things are going.
Yes.
And I mean, that it was the influence that the daily graphic or the newspaper work had on me. That even introduced me to the drum. When
drum
it
magazine.
was, you know, so with the graphic and the drum, all rely on me for supply.
Sure.
You know, or I had access to sell my work.
That they were interested in.
I was okay. These two had great influence on me. And for the independence, how we started the graphic, the process of how the graphic came to start and to cast an influence on the Ghanaian public. First, nobody had his picture in the, unless the big people. Today, even a market woman can be selling, and tomorrow he will find her picture in the paper or in weekend magazine or something like that. You know, it had a big, I can't talk about it. But
no, I understand.
Yes.
It created a connection.
Yes, and people got to be interested in photography. People, through the newspaper, even some trotro or lorries, they will cut, you know, they will do a cutting and paste it in their cars and so on. You know, people started even believing in the paper because they see the picture.
Right,
you know.
right.
Now, then elections and politics come in, and the graphic played a big part, you know, projecting politics, as well as sports, especially football. You know, Roy Ankara comes from the army, you know, drum says the graphic is published, everything to give publicity to the otherwise not known. You know, nobody had, I did that a lot. When I was at the graphic, I didn't permanently stay with the graphic.
Okay. You took assignments.
After a short time, I left.
Okay.
Because I had my studio.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I remember going back again. You know, there's a picture on the corner there. The picture is on the wall.
One?
Yes, two people with the camera.
Yeah, who are they?
Me and my assistant at the graphic.
Okay.
You know, I remember that was 1950. The second time I went to the graphic.
But this wall is at your studio.
Yes, so these were showing my work or how I decorated the studio.
Yeah.
The second one, not the first one. You know, when I came back and, you know, left again, finished with the company that I came to work with, I had to do something. And that's where Auntie Mary's picture was taken.
At the studio?
Yeah, outside. When I was enclosing that veranda to make it a studio.
Oh.
When that picture, you can see some
construction,
wall. Yes.
Yeah.
It was, I was given just one room.
Okay.
For a dark room.
And you had to build the rest.
And that was a veranda in front. And I bought blocks and covered it, and that was when I took that picture. So that picture is very important.
Yeah, it was a building block for you.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
And even there, that very corner, I call it Studio X23. I took very many important pictures.
And then
Yes.
So where is that now in Jamestown? So if we were to go back.
No, Jamestown was the Ever Young.
Okay, that was the first one.
Yes.
Okay.
Near the CV Hotel, which
Yes.
now the CV Hotel is not there.
Yeah.
I would say Manchagona.
Okay. Across from the palace.
Yes.
Yes.
From that place, you can see the park.
Okay.
You know, from my studio, you can look at the park and the James Fort.
Okay. Okay.
So the studio was there before. There's somebody occupying it doing other things.
Okay.
But the second one was a printing press at it's called Luna Press. Luna Printing Press. And Jamfi Garments. Jamfi also made Joromi shirts and so on. He also occupied part of it. Yes.
Okay.
That is, I've got a picture of it somewhere. I'll show you later. Yes.
Okay.
That is the X23. And a small place, but a big yard. But my place was only one room. Later, I moved and got another room in addition.
Okay.
You know, their office. I moved their telephones. And you see the blue picture. You know, the blue picture. Yes. His grandfather's press. His father is there. You know, there is a picture of his father there.
Okay.
His father's grandfather's press.
It was in the same place.
They were the director, you know, the person doing my exhibition now.
Oh, okay. The one in Detroit.
Yes. They're all Kwakupung. This is Kwakupung.
Okay.
The pressman is Kwakupung.
Oh, really?
You know,
okay.
And the house belonged to the Detroit's grandfather's grandfather. Yes.
Okay.
His father's father.
Okay.
You know, yes.
Oh, that's a lovely story.
And he was saying when I was there, he was a small boy, you know, coming to see his uncle.
Exactly.
No, not to me.
His uncle. His uncle. Oh, okay.
But I've got photographs of
all of that.
All of them,
Yes. Okay, that's wonderful. So you are now in your early 20s or mid 20s. You've been an entrepreneur. You've worked with the graphic, and Ghana is approaching independence. How did you experience independence or liberation?
I would say, as young as I was then, or young people were really not mindful. They were not interested in self-government, you know, or government and such. As long as they were getting their education, they are getting their jobs and everything. But when Nkrumah came in, he had a plan, you know, and he had done his own work. He knew where to go. So he started campaigning and using the youth, focusing on the youth and so on, the market women. So that's
the everyday person.
Yes. That's right. And that's how, not only relatives, you know, but everyday person, people who matter, people in the country. I was telling my carer about the difference between somebody running a country and having a care for the people in the country. That's, you know, I was saying I had to go to a doctor last week, and I went with her to check me because I forget, and I was referred there. And the thing is to see that what is wrong. Normally, when you're growing, the mental faculties start to wear out and so on, you know. How far they wanted to see how far has it gone down or how far is it, and what they can do, what advice. And even if they want to give you some drug, you know, to cut the deterioration. And I was telling her that if this was done in Ghana, many people would be saved. If there was that service, that you don't wait till the person gets mad, you know, but this service should be there. You see, but if Nkrumah had been
if
alive,
that leadership had been played out,
there would have been the basis for which I saw it. You know, but now we don't see anything. So you see the difference between, and the youth started following him, you know. But honestly, I was a number one fan I photographed him in his house. And so whether I did get a CPP card, a party card, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
But you were
otherwise I'll know the number. I'll remember the number.
Sure. Sure.
But I was close, or that attitude gave me the chance to be able to go to anybody, whether the opposition leader or this or that, some of the members of the assembly, I knew their constituencies, I knew their homes. And so I felt free.
Sure.
And I could do anything.
Yeah.
So it's up to you and what you learn from them. And I thought I still would like Nkrumah to have gone on to bring the things that because he'd been through the mill. He'd been in America. He'd seen how blacks were suffering and what needed for black people to, start to gain independence and control themselves and do their own things. If today Ghana is still ordering food, ordering rice, when in his time he started building silos to store food.
Yes. It's a whole other story.
I'm not crying for him. I could cry for him, but you can see it.
Yes, the difference.
I don't like the people who are running country, but I feel sorry that they haven't got that. You see, I haven't got money. If I had to tell you what I suffered or what I went through during my school days until I got to start to do photography, you'll be sorry for me. But as soon as I came here and I found my pictures were being recognized, I straight away thought about James Barnor Foundation. Long ago. Especially when I came the second time.
Sure.
And I was cleaning. When I came, I was cleaning at the airport, riding a bicycle from here to the airport.
Yeah.
As soon as I got my first, even before the first exhibition, I thought, if I could die at any time, what would happen to this? Now, if I got a lot of money, what do I do with it? There are many people crying for help. And I did it. You see, so it shows. And you can see, even when I was forced to get this place, I'm annoyed. I can go on.
Yes. I remember.
So you have to have that feeling. That's why I feel for Nkrumah.
Yeah.
Because he brought that thing. He brought that feeling, and he had people at the time to help him. Only one person, they hadn't seen it before. They got it, so they bought golden beds. I don't know whether you
I've never heard that story.
What you say.
Oh,
they hadn't seen it before. They got money, came here, bought a golden bed.
Oh, wow.
You see,
but
only a few, but others sacrificed a lot. Yes.
Yeah. Which is what is Ghana today, right? Ghana was built on sacrifice of people who really had a vision.
Yes.
And so I think the future will also depend on that. That's something that we need to think about. That's going to do it for part 1 of my conversation with James Barnor, Uncle Jim. Please do join us next time for more and more and more of this great story and great journey. So in case you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, tell somebody. There's some historical importance in this in many of our episodes. You can catch us Tuesdays with new episodes at glocalcitizenspod.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Do us a favor, write a review on Spotify, on Apple, on Google. Just write us a review. It helps people find great content online. And until next time, bye for now.